Across America, we're being confronted with something that's very unprecedented. Government has decided to inflict itself on Americans in ways that are unprecedented. We see this with the mask mandates in certain parts of the country, as well as the mandates for vaccinations. There are people who are losing their jobs. There are students who are being told that they cannot go back to school. My next guest is a young woman who fought back. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dr. Carol Swain. This is the show where we talk about anything and everything. Today, we're going to talk about vaccination mandates. My guests are Avery Garfield, a former nursing student at MTSU, that's a university in Tennessee, and her lawyer, Russel Newman. So, Avery and Russell, welcome to Conversations.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And Avery, I read about your story in the newspapers, and you are a brave young lady.
Thank you.
And well, okay. And so one of the things, could you walk our audience through just a little bit about what happened? And then I would like for Russell to talk about, vaccination mandates and how they are impacting our society.
Okay, so I'm a nursing student at Middle Tennessee State University. It's right outside of the Nashville area, right smack dab in the middle. Around mid-summer, end of July, we received an email from the nursing director that the COVID-19 vaccine would be required for all nursing students with no exemptions. And the email ended with, "Thank you for your compliance." Me and a couple of my other friends, we weren't really cool with it. I know some people that I knew went off and emailed some of the clinical locations asking for exemptions, and we received an email back from them saying not to do so. Do not go reach out to look for exemptions, just take the shot. So I put a comment, and my mom put a comment down in Tennessee Stands. There's an organization who's paying for my legal fees here. We asked them for help. We're like, hey, we don't know what to do. I could not take the shot. I couldn't do it. And they reached out, and I got in touch with Russell.
And Avery, in previous conversations, you told me your mother has a scientific background, and so you had a combination of reasons why you did not want to take the shot.
Yeah, I have several. I have several reasons as to why I don't want to take the shot.
Okay, and without getting into those reasons, I want to shift over to Russell because this is such a huge national issue. And so, Russell, give us your perspective on this, not just
Sure.
Avery's case, but the larger issue.
So what we have is a situation where we have 4 COVID-19 vaccines. None of them have been approved by the FDA. What was approved on August the 23rd, 2021, just recently, was a biologics license application for Comirnaty, also made by Pfizer. What that is a approval for a introduction into interstate commerce, a new clinical trial. So you have to have a clinical trial before these vaccines are quote unquote FDA approved. So all 4 of them have been approved for a biologics license application, meaning they can start clinical trials, meaning they can put them into interstate commerce. None of them have been approved by the FDA. The vaccine itself has not been approved. Now, under federal law, this is good for all 50 states and all U.S. territories. An unapproved vaccine cannot be mandated. The Code of Federal Regulations also say that you cannot have undue influence or coercion to force the vaccine. Well, Avery was removed by the police from MTSU nursing building. That is the very definition of coercion and undue
Right.
influence. The police were waiting for her, and I'll let her tell that story.
Well, let me ask you this, Russell. With Avery being removed, did they tell her that she would be removed if she tried to return? And is she still a nursing student, or is she a former nursing student?
So she has been forced to withdraw in lieu
Okay.
of failing.
So I'm actually technically still a nursing student. I have not pulled my status from the program yet. I was forced to withdraw from my clinicals, however. If I did not do that, I would have proceeded to fail.
And so, Avery, what was it that made you decide to fight back? Was it the encouragement of your mother, or just a sense of this is not right?
A mixture of both. I wanted this degree so bad. I still do. And the fact that I had to choose between my future career and the rights that I grew up with and I know are God given
Right. I understand.
was just, it was unfathomable. It broke my heart, and those feelings kind of built up. I had to fight back. I couldn't just roll over and take it, and I had a lot of encouragement from my family, and the fact that I now was working with Tennessee Stands, it gave me some hope that maybe I could win this,
And Avery, did they literally handcuff you, or just take you by the shoulder and walk you out of the building?
No, there was no one was forceful. I complied with police authority when I walked up to the classroom. They were there waiting for me. I kind of figured that they were looking for me. I walked up to them and I said, "Hey," because I saw them scanning students. I was like, "Hey, are you looking for me?" And they're like, "Are you Avery?" And I was like, "Yes, there I am." He's like, "Just come with me." There was no forceful, but I wasn't going to resist. I don't know what would have happened if I did resist, but I'm not.
Well, I mean, most American citizens are law abiding, and so we don't resist law enforcement, any lawful law enforcement order. And so I guess the school wanted to make a point.
They
And
wanted to make an example out of me for sure.
And I think they bit off more than they could chew, because Russell, do you think they anticipated that she would fight back?
I don't think so. Most people roll over and take it. I'm fortunate to have Avery, who is willing to stand on principle. And she is saying, I'm not taking the vaccine. You can't mandate it. She is aware that federal law says that you can't mandate it. By the way, we have two lawsuits. We have one in federal court and one in state court. So under federal law, you can't mandate it. And under Tennessee law, this university cannot mandate the vaccine.
Well,
So,
Russell, if that's true, how is it that the Biden administration has been able to impose its rules and guidelines on so many businesses, and you have people that are literally losing their jobs? They've already lost their jobs because of refusing to take the vaccine. And so if everything you're saying is true, how can it be that these people are operating outside the law? Have they become a law to themselves?
So what is going on is the news media is propagating one narrative. The executive orders that are being entered are saying something different. So the executive order that was just recently entered is not mandating the vaccine, but the media is propagating that there's a vaccine mandate, but federal law says that you cannot mandate it. So we have a situation where the news media is propagating one narrative when the facts are a different story altogether. So the FDA has not approved the vaccine. The FDA has approved the clinical trial, yet the FDA website is saying that's been FDA approved, and the news media is taking it and running with it. It's a sleight of hand when there technically is an FDA approval, but you have to ask, what was FDA approved? The vaccine itself was not FDA approved. The clinical trial has been FDA approved. So it's a sleight of hand, and they're getting away with it because people are not calling them to the carpet to explain themselves.
But
And that's what Avery's doing.
Russell, what my viewers and we're trying to understand is, given that to be the case of what you've just stated, how is it that people are losing their jobs, and the Biden administration's executive order promises to fine significantly companies that don't comply, huge monetary penalties if they don't, submit to whatever the authority is putting out here.
So they are acting outside of the law. They cannot mandate it. I mean, what Avery's dealing with, the university cannot mandate her to take the shot, but they're doing it anyway. We have rogue institutions, we have rogue corporations that have gone off the rails. I mean, federal law is clear. In Tennessee, our law is clear, yet we still have this tyranny. And that is the very definition of tyranny, is acting outside the scope of the law. They can't do it, yet they're doing it.
Well, we are going to take a break. And when we return, I want you to talk more about what's going on and why they seem to be getting away with it. We'll be back after this word from our sponsor.
Conversations with Dr. Carol Swain is made possible by Cooper Steel, a family-owned business that provides the steel fabrications for some of the greatest buildings across the United States. 60 years ago, Kenneth and Faye Cooper founded their company in Shelbyville, Tennessee.
Cooper Steel believes in sponsoring Carol Swain because we believe as she does, you build strong, you stand strong.
What started as a vision and now a nationally recognized and operated company that remains true to its founders' Judeo-Christian values and principles. Cooper Steel is committed to excellence, responsibility, and community. Cooper Steel's motto is, build strong, stand strong. They treat their employees and customers like family. Thank you to Cooper Steel for standing strong with Conversations with Dr. Carol Swain. Learn more about our generous sponsor at coopersteel.com. Black Eye for America is enlightening the nation.
I would definitely encourage people to buy the book to learn a little bit more about what critical race theory is actually rooted in, Marxism.
Buy the book at bethepeoplenews.com or wherever books are sold.
Just so we can have logical and practical conversations with people who are getting misinformation and disinformation from social media, from their friends.
Now an Amazon bestseller and available on Kindle.
Absolutely. It's a must-read book.
Welcome back to Conversations. We're talking with Avery Garfield and Russel Newman. So Russell, given that these officials, the government, they're working outside the law or they're operating outside the law, I mean, what can we do about it? No one seems to be doing anything. We all seem to be acting as if the government has the authority to force you to take an injection against your will. And it seems like that, given the fact that they're not exempting anyone, even people who have had COVID, that the government focus seems to be to get that substance into your veins.
So that's exactly the situation we have with Avery. Avery has had COVID, so she has the antibodies. She's a young, healthy female who has antibodies. If anyone does not need this vaccine, this is the person that does not need the vaccine. She's recovered from it. She's got the antibodies. She's young, and she is exercising her right to be free, my body, my choice, not to take the vaccine. So what we have is a situation where these corporations, government officials, MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University, is a state university. It is government, and it cannot be mandated. It's against the law to mandate it. So what MTSU is doing is flagrantly violating Tennessee law. What you can do is what Avery is doing, taking the university to court. What she has filed is a complaint for declaratory judgment. She's asking the court to tell me what my rights are. She's not asking for money. She's not asking for property. She's asking the court to declare her rights. Can the university force me to take this shot against my will? And we filed in state court and we filed in federal court. And we currently have a hearing pending. We just got this order on Friday. We're going to have a hearing on November the 17th, 2021 in federal court in Nashville. So if you could encourage your viewers to support Avery, that would be a huge victory for Avery, to let the judge know that we want our rights back. We want the court to uphold and to carry out the law, which says that you cannot mandate it. let Avery have a choice.
Well, the thing about it, the Supreme Court, at least one of the justices, failed to intervene in a decision that came, I guess, from New York about the vaccine mandates. Are you familiar with that? And does that suggest that maybe if your case were to reach the Supreme Court, that they would not be so supportive?
So each case is going to be factually distinct. And so the courts are going to distinguish each of the different cases. What we'll have is different rulings in different circuits. So we're in the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, and Michigan. And so we're ultimately going to have different decisions in different circuits, and we will probably end up in the Supreme Court. And we're hoping that Avery's case will make law for the entire nation. So this.
Right. And Russell, how long do you think it will be to work this case through the system so that it eventually reaches the Supreme Court?
So Avery and I are going to court on November the 17th. We're going to have a hearing on a preliminary injunction, and the preliminary injunction is going to we're going to ask the court to stay the vaccine mandate until we can have a ruling on the merits. And so we're going to file a motion, and we're going to go back to court on the merits. And so hopefully we'll get a decision before the end of the year in the trial court, and then we'll be going to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and we hope to have a decision within a year.
Right.
In the Sixth Circuit, and then we'll apply to the Supreme Court.
Now, Avery, will you be able to return to school while this is pending if you are able, to get, the stay or the injunction? Will you be able to go to school?
If I can get them to lift the mandate, for now, I will be able to take nursing classes. Currently, I'm taking some classes just to hold on to my scholarship that aren't involved with the nursing program. But I can't answer that 100% because I don't know what's going to happen.
So we're asking that the court is going to take away the vaccine mandate. If the court takes away the vaccine mandate, there's nothing holding Avery back from continuing to progress in her program. And you're almost done, aren't you?
Yeah.
She's almost done.
So if the court takes away the mandate that governs MTSU and Avery's situation, would it impact all Tennesseans?
Yes. So what the court will do is enter a ruling on the merits, or we hope we'll get a ruling on the merits because a motion to dismiss has been filed. If we can survive the motion to dismiss and get a ruling on the merits, if the mandate is struck down, that'll be for all of MTSU. That'll be for MTSU employees and students and everyone that's in MTSU, but it's also a shot across the bow to all the other universities, corporations, that says the federal court has struck down this as being unlawful. And so it'll be law for MTSU because that is the defendant. But once we go up on the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, if we prevail in the Sixth Circuit, then it becomes law for all of Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, and Michigan.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, so we're all of the Sixth Circuit. If the Sixth Circuit agrees with Avery, we have law for those 4 states. Then we go up to the Supreme Court. And if we prevail in the Supreme Court, Avery makes law for the nation.
Avery, that is so exciting. And can you share with our viewers the reaction, like when you go out in public, are most people supportive, or do you have people that challenge you and your values because you stood up?
You'd be surprised. It's quite the opposite of what the media is telling you. Most people that I meet who find out about my story are very supportive, even if they are vaccinated. They're like, you should have a choice. I made this choice to get the vaccine, so that was my health choice, but you should be allowed to make your health choice. And you'd really be surprised how many people are against these blanket mandates.
And Avery, while you're waiting for, the court case to be heard and decisions, how are you spending your time?
I am going to those other classes that I mentioned before. I'm doing some of my extracurricular activities just to keep my mind off it, things like that.
What's interesting is it's just the nursing school that's mandated this. So she's able to go to class, and her other courses.
Mhm.
It's just a nursing school.
Well, in the nursing school, is it correct that it is controlled by Vanderbilt University and not MTSU? And Vanderbilt is a private institution.
So it takes its certain aspects of Vanderbilt's policies just because they do clinicals there.
Okay, we're going to take another break. And when we return, I want you all to focus on what the viewers can do to help Avery and also just to help our nation. So we'll be back after this word from our sponsors.
Dr. Carol Swain's Be the People, a call to reclaim America's faith and promise, newly released in paperback and audio with a new introduction, is a challenge to all Americans. If you are serious about being the best citizen you can be, this is the book for you. From addressing moral relativism to reclaiming the future, you'll understand why Dr. Swain is one of the most relevant voices in today's culture war. Are you ready to reclaim America's faith and promise? Purchase at bethepeoplenews.com/books or wherever books are sold. Cooper Steel is a family-owned business that provides the steel fabrications for some of the greatest buildings across the United States. 60 years ago, Kenneth and Faye Cooper founded their company in Shelbyville, Tennessee. What started as a vision and now a nationally recognized and operated company that remains true to its founders' Judeo-Christian values and principles. Cooper Steel's motto is, "Build strong, stand strong." Thank you to Cooper Steel for standing strong with Conversations with Dr. Carol Swain.
Welcome back. Russell, in the time that's remaining, it would be great if you and Avery talked about what our viewers can do to help the situation, not just for Avery and Tennessee and MTSU, but just nationwide. What can we, the people, do?
Continue to stand like Avery. You can file your lawsuits. We have different types of lawsuits that we're working with. We have Avery, she's representing all the students in Tennessee and hopefully for the nation. And what you can do is to show up and to support Avery. We go to court November 17th, 2021. If we could show support by supporting Avery, that would be fantastic. What we have is a preliminary injunction. What that means is we're asking for a court order to enjoin and or restrain anyone connected with MTSU mandating the vaccines. So as Avery can tell you, she has a clinical with St. Thomas. So because St. Thomas does business and conducts business by way of clinicals, this restraining order, if it's entered against MTSU, would affect Vanderbilt, would affect Ascension and St. Thomas and everyone who's connected or in concert with MTSU. So what Avery's doing is huge.
And also, Russell, I know that I've read some articles about it. Have you written any op-eds stating your position as you laid it out on the show as far as the legality of what is taking place?
No, what Avery has is an affidavit. And so what people are doing in support of Avery is filling out this affidavit. What they're doing is reading the federal law, reading the facts of her case, and then they're signing and sending in an affidavit in support of Avery saying that I have personal knowledge that you cannot mandate this vaccine. I know it's against the law, and I'm standing in support of Avery. And we've had many affidavits. Avery's been promoting it on her social media. We've had probably 60 affidavits filed in her case. And so they fill it out, mail it into the court. The court scans it in and then enters it into the docket. It's probably 2,500 pages that the courts have been scanning in and filing, all for Avery.
Well, Russell, this is the first time I think I've heard about the affidavit push. And what I was asking you, though, is have you, as the lawyer, written any opinion pieces for either the Tennessean or some of the more conservative newspapers talking about this process and talking about what's needed?
I have not. I don't have time to do that. What we've been doing is sharing Avery's pleadings and with the affidavit that people are signing in support of her. So I'm sharing the legal documents, but I haven't written any articles now.
Okay, well, I will be happy to join that process using my own social media and also trying to make a push among my supporters so that they will likewise share. So is there anything else that people can do to support Avery and the larger cause of fighting against the mandates?
So we have people that are filling out the affidavits and sending those in. We ask that you show up to court, let the court know that, we want our rights back. So in the galley, people can show up and support Avery. So have them come to the courthouse. That would be wonderful. And then on social media, you tell them what your social media accounts are and what you have going on, and let's get people to rally around you. But I mean, this is a cause that our country is founded in freedom, and she's just
Right.
trying to exercise her right to my body, my choice. So go
But
ahead and
it
tell
seems to
what's up.
me that having too many people show up in the court proceedings runs the risk of disruption, which would work against her. And so I hope that if people that support Avery show up, that these will be people that will be, peaceful. And it's often the political left will infiltrate, as you know, rallies and groups, and they would disrupt things, and it backfires against the conservatives. But I'm sure you've already thought about all this.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we asked everyone to just support me legally and peacefully 100%. You can
And
follow me on
and that needs to
Facebook.
be said repeatedly because it's just so
Yes.
easy for things to get out of hand.
Yeah,
And I think that
absolutely.
I personally, and just my opinion, I think that the affidavits might be the strongest way to go. And then as far as who shows up at the hearing, you want to make sure that if you're going to pack the galley, that you're going to pack it with people that are really going to be quiet, respectful, and just show their the show of force. And I'm 100%, 110% behind everything you're doing. And I wish more Americans would stand up, for our constitutional rights, because we're definitely losing our country.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if you're looking for a call to action, I'm a 21-year-old college student. I didn't ever think I'd be in this situation. This is not the country I grew up in. These are not decisions I ever thought I'd have to make. And when people get faced with this, look at what the rest of America is doing. We're standing up, we're fighting, and we're just like you. Like I'm
in my
different than
60s, and
anyone else.
I don't recognize this country. And I do think that this is a moment that the American people need to stand. And so, like Tennessee Stands, a great organization, great name, we do need to stand, but not just one state. It needs to be done all across the country. We look at Florida, we look at Texas. Those are states where people are willing to, fight for their rights. And we need that multiplied across the 50 states.
No, I agree. Everyone needs to stand up.
And so TennesseeStands.org is a place that you can go to donate. Tennessee Stands is paying for my time and expenses for Avery. So
Okay.
they're providing enormous support, not only just emotional support, physical support, but they're financing this. They're paying for my time and expenses. So, support Tennessee Stands, because when you support Tennessee Stands, you support Avery and her fight.
Now, Tennessee Stands, is that a 501c3?
I believe it is, yeah.
Okay, well, that is great to know that Tennessee Stands is a 501c3, that people can go to their website and support Avery. And we do support Avery. And I hope that, no matter where you're watching, that you will share the information about Avery's story. It got some attention when it initially happened, but when stories like this happen, we just have to keep it in the news. And Avery, I want to thank you, and I want to thank Russell, for being with us today. You're fighting a cause for all Americans, and we will stand with you. And we believe that we will be victorious. and hopefully we'll be able to take our country back, even though there's a death rattle in the throat of the nation. I'm still believing that we can turn things around. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. You follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm on TikTok too. I make some videos there. So thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be back after this moment from our sponsors.
Many ask, why should I care about critical race theory? I'm Dr. Carol Swain, and along with Dr. Christopher Shore, we've authored a new book, Black Eye for America, How Critical Race Theory is Burning Down the House. Every American should care about CRT because this radical Marxist philosophy is dividing our country and taught to our children, but we're going to stop it. Endorsed by Dr. Ben Carson, Black Eye for America is a playbook on combating CRT.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Conversations. It's so important for us as Americans to stand with people like Avery Garfield. This is a 21-year-old woman who's taken a stance that a lot of us older people are afraid, to step out there. We can stand with her, and we can do it also by supporting Tennessee Stands. So I appreciate you and hope that you'll tune in next week for another episode of Conversations.